There is a matrix escape clause. Do you want to take it? I'll tell you exactly what it is. People have done this, and you can do this. Maybe you've done this, but you haven't actually escaped when you used the clause. Let me explain how it is done, what it is, and the easier way to escape the matrix. You ready? Let's go. Welcome to Landria Onkka on YouTube, here to help you break through fears and live an amazing life. You know, I have a lot of hair, so I thought I'd put it up today. Help me cool off after being out there for a beautiful walk. Do you go out in nature every day? You really need to communicate with everything out there that is so intelligent and perfect, and it's always talking to you. Love, acceptance, peace. Okay, let's get back to the subject matter. What is the matrix escape clause? There are many who feel like we are in a prison. That would mean that they believe, maybe this is you, that somehow this painful world has been imposed on us without our approval or without our participation in that, let's just say, decision. That couldn't be further from the truth. That's a limited, ego-based thinking that still believes that you don't hold that power, that ye are not a God, and that these things you don't do and more. All right? So if you believe that ye are all gods and these things you shall do and more, then you know that the prison you freely built with others, and all of us built, and some of us agreed to go inside the prison, live there, find our cell, and shut the door. Now, what we don't realize is, and here is how you can escape the prison without the clause, is the door was never locked. So you may be in your cell, and with the memory erase of everything that happened before you walked into that prison, you don't realize that no one ever actually locked the door. So at some point when you go into consciousness, you can just walk out of the cell and actually out the front door of the prison itself, off the grounds into that amazing, space outside of it, that quantum space. But there's a lot of lessons that are learned in that prison. Now, I don't think of the Matrix as a prison. I think of it as something really fabulous that we get to experience, but many people do feel like this is a painful place for us and that it is inflicted and horrible, and why would I choose this? So let me give you the clause. The escape clause from the self-created. Let's say you don't believe that. Maybe you believe that somehow you landed here. Even if you believe in reincarnation, I'm being punished, I got placed here. No, it's actually the opposite. You are more advanced, so therefore you took on the greater master classrooms here to master all the things and work through the relationships that you have been in and the pain that you've experienced, and to learn how to break through all of that and go into that massive space of enlightenment. So what is the clause? You can go into that space. Now, when you go into regular awakening, and I told you guys, the great awakening is happening. It has been. Somebody said, you keep talking about the shift. When is it going to happen? It's been happening. We go through various shifts according to the collective continues to raise its frequency. This is all good. We're going in the right direction of where we want to go with this game, with this illusion. That's the final thing, right? Is we want to go into heaven on earth, and we are creating that. We are creating that. So we're waiting for some flash, So what's if you happen to not be in enlightenment, you get left behind? No. It's an individual journey. And collectively, we create the physical world, and that's what's happening right now. The physical world is now changing according to our higher frequency that doesn't accept how it's been operating, that we've imposed on it, right? So you're going to see a lot of changes, a lot of huge, big events are going to happen, big ones. And they're all going to take us to a new way of living, right? So our health thing, that actually took us to learning a lot about ourselves and one another. And some people went into a dark place. Others found a new way of living and community. Now, the actual awakening itself allows you to open the door and walk out. That means that you continue to raise your frequency and master everything. You go into love and compassion versus, hate and blame and separation. Now, when you go into the clause, you are not going into the, let's just say, the journey of enlightenment. You are bypassing it in a very, let's just say, explosive kind of instantaneous way. And so the best way I can describe it is, and no one wants to go here, is the dark night of the soul. Dark night of the soul. Have you ever been there? I think we all have. I think we've all been in that place where we said, you know what? I'm just so absolutely miserable. I don't see anything good about my life, others, the planet. We've all been there. I can't even remember. If I have, it's been a really long time. It's funny how you forget these things, right? Thank goodness. But we all know we've gone there. It's self-imposed. Your dark night has to come from stories and beliefs in your head about the world out there that tells you that things are wrong. And that's the ego. It's a 100% ego-based state of being, the dark night. Where do you go from there? Well, some people can kill themselves, and a lot of people do. Don't get out of it. In fact, it's the opposite. Without gratitude and playing the game out, you actually go backwards. So, right, when you flunk in school, what do? They put you back a grade. So you're there with the babies, right? Because the babies are, they're learning, and you haven't. When you master things, you go and you progress to, your advanced courses, your PhD, your whatever it is. And so you continue to open up your world. The escape clause is that in order to go into that space without going down this journey of evolution and mastering all of these challenges that come along the way and seeing them as that, you will go into a space where there is no place else to go but completely letting go of everything you believed and thought, your pain, all of it. Total letting go. And that's when you go into enlightenment. Eckhart Tolle, Buddha, many, many others spent their lifetimes trying to find it, happiness in the material world. Now, Buddha was trying to find the enlightenment, but still doing things in the material world, fasting and all these things that were wonderful, but weren't the passage to enlightenment. No one thinks the passage to enlightenment except for you. Letting go of the material world, totally letting go. And that's what the dark night of the soul does. So when Eckhart Tolle wanted to kill himself, he went into a sleep, an alpha state, and he basically, went into this state of euphoria because he just didn't care anymore. He completely, he didn't care about that life anymore. So instead of killing himself, he woke up and everything was different. And he saw the world different, and he felt different, and all of a sudden he was in a state of enlightenment. He walked around for 2 years as a homeless person that way. You don't have to do that. Now, he has spent a lifetime of wanting to kill himself, even when he was a child. He said that he remembers standing on the top of a building. I think he was like 10 or something like that. He was so miserable. He didn't have very nice parents. Let's just say he had great teachers as parents. And he just didn't want to live. He was just so depressed. And so you don't want to go down that path. Nobody wants to live that path. To then, 30 some years later, go to that darkest place to then go into enlightenment. Now, it's worked out well for him, right? He was on Oprah. So, but I wouldn't choose that for anyone. And of course, you, if you don't let go, can go into that dark space. Now, we have a lot of things coming up, big, big stuff coming up. Because our awakened state, so many of us going into such a high frequency that we are actually affecting the material world and taking the action behind it. It's not just happening because we sit here and meditate. The material world is changing through our beliefs, our actions, and so we're coming together as a community and saying, you know, we have to make some changes. We're living differently. Those who are going into that space are living it, not polluting and eating garbage, you know, throwing your plastic out and then praying for it. You know, we are living it and doing our best to do that. It's not easy, but you have to put in 100% every day, and you will affect the reality of the collective and therefore your own life. Now, so what's happening is we are actually creating the changes in the physical world to get into that more peaceful, community-based, healthy, you know, respectful to the planet world, a state of being in life. And so therefore the things that aren't working will dissolve. Our financial systems are going to change drastically. Our health systems, that's already happening, and there's still an old regime there that would love to see us, you know, not doing so well and taking stuff to fix everything instead of realizing that it comes from what we think and believe, our lifestyle, what we eat, all these things. So we have to shift into that. Now, so in other words, when you go in on this journey without going to the dark night of the soul, you have to take on these challenges in a way that you understand they have great value and that you are absolutely opening that door of your little cell and you're walking outside of this, you know, prison, and it's no longer a horrible place that kept you there. It's actually a wonderful learning place. In fact, you go back into the prison and you start taking classes and getting everybody together and saying, you know, what are we going to do next? And so the things that are going to happen are actually going to be wonderful opportunities for us to show that we are in a loving, compassionate, community-based, let's just say, frequency. And so then we will not go into it in fear, but realize that the changes are a reflection of our past actions and our future desires, of which we are now going to implement. So you can choose the clause, and you can continue down that path and blame people and be angry and say that you didn't choose this and be a helpless victim. And at some point you will crash. And then you will either go into this state of total helplessness and, you know, pain, struggle, or you're just going to say, I just don't care anymore. And you go into euphoria, and it's pretty powerful when that happens. Does this make sense? So you can join any time into the light that exists right now. It is happening. It is not a shift at one moment. There are various shifts happening that are very positive, energy shifts, all kinds of stuff, and I'll talk about that as they happen, and I know about them. But you, right now, are personally shifting in every moment. Your thought, every thought contributes to the collective. So when you leave a comment, and it's all about you and what you want somebody else to be and your distress and whatever, blah, 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 you know, shut your pie hole, and then ask yourself, oh, that was my contribution to the collective. Was that a nice one? Was it a high frequency? So I wanted to let you know, as of this video, I have a live event called Transformation Event, and that's in October 2022. If this is past that time, you're seeing this past that time, it will be available. It is a live 3.5 hour event where I take you from struggle to learning how to deal with everything, to preparing you for the transformation personally and the transformation of the planet. You also get training and practices online. For 1 year, you get access to all of it to go through these steps of transformation so that you can deal with the things that are going on out there, understand it, and have it make sense for you, all right? So you can go in the description, and or, you know, I have free videos here. You can go in there and find it there, or most of all in the description. And I hope to see you there. We have to continue on our pathway of awakening. If we don't, then, well, you'll make it back eventually, but it might not be so much fun. Joy awaits you right now. These are free videos over here for internet training, the training that I use to create online businesses to reach global audiences with some amazing, cool messages. And you could do the same thing, products or services, or if you don't have any, these are great skills for a world that we're going to go into that is going to be mobile and global. So you can check these free videos to check it out and then see if it's for you. Please subscribe. Thank you for being here. You're whole and perfect, strong and powerful, loving, harmonious, and happy. Blessings. Namaste.